authority to tell me not to do that. I'm going to go to the
No,
next
I
one.
asked permission. I got permission.
You go wherever you want.
Yeah, I go to the next one.
They asked him to ask you,
not it.
and then not
That's
do
not
it.
it.
But just anywhere else if you're asked to leave.
Of course I would leave.
Okay.
Of course. You know, if the lady told me to leave,
Yeah.
I would.
I asked permission. You did not leave.
Yeah, Jerry, you're the lord of everything over there.
Hey, don't put it on me.
Yeah, I probably will come back later and talk to them.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Of
they
course.
allow me. That's fine. Yeah.
Of
They
course.
allow you, yeah, as long as you do it, yeah.
So let's make it clear for Jerry on his camera that if we come here, we go into the shop, and we talk to people, and they're willing to talk, we have a right to talk.
Yeah, up
Yeah.
until the point they ask you to leave, then
Yeah.
you have to leave.
Right.
Okay?
Right. And the owner of a shop next door doesn't have a right on their own to come and tell us to leave another
That's
person
why I
to
asked
stay.
for permission.
If the business where you're at gives them permission, then you just
Right.
have to follow.
Right.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what happened here.
I am Jerry Hardy. My partner and I own Raintree Bakery on Pensacola. I filmed this video and I put it on YouTube to communicate how businesses on Pensacola have been treated by the Hawaii Bicycle League. We found out about a bike lane to be installed on our street literally by accident because none of the shop owners knew anything about this. We attended a complete street meeting at the Blaisdell and we never disagreed having more bike lanes, but we realized that putting a bike lane on our street would have a negative effect on our businesses. Our street is dependent on street parking, so we had to organize our businesses because we already knew taking parking away would mean the end of all our businesses. Our block is a difficult place to do business, but we have a beautiful 100-year-old building that we have tried to preserve, and we've invested a lot of savings into it. So you can imagine the shock of finding out about a bike lane and realizing the bill had already been introduced to the City Council and will be on its second reading the very next week. We did testify along with Antipesto Restaurant at the City Council meeting, and the city agreed that it would have a devastating effect on our businesses, and they amended the bill saying that, and I quote, "The city shall provide nearby parking alternatives to mitigate the adverse impacts of loss of on-street parking for area residents and businesses in urban Honolulu." We also expressed our safety concern for the bicyclists because the street has a severe crown which channels the water into the direct path of the planned bike lane. We have seen water exceed 9 inches to the curb, and we couldn't imagine a bike being able to ride through that. So we followed all the rules and our concerns were heard. Now this is where the story gets ugly with the actions of Hawaii Bicycle League. Protests began with signs saying, "Save Pensacola Bike Lane." I spoke with one of the protesters who commented there was just a few parking spaces being taken away and these businesses are complaining. We've had people walk by our shop with t-shirts saying Hawaii Bicycle League. I think what made matters worse was that I was interviewed on Hawaii News Now about my concerns if parking was taken away from our shops. I felt targeted by the Hawaii Bicycle League. So I pulled up the Hawaii Bicycle League newsletter and discovered an article written by Daniel Alexander, the other person in the video standing next to Chad Taniguchi. Apparently, it was not difficult for the protesters to figure out that we were the forces moving to defeat Pensacola Protected Bike Lane, as he says in his article. This was pure propaganda. We are talking about one street. Taking half the parking away is like taking away 50% of parking, not 5%, like this article would have you believe. And saying that bicycle lanes are critically needed for public safety seems hypocritical when one of the points at the city council was the danger of bicyclists trying to ride a bike in 9 inches of water in a sudden downpour. Unfortunately for the businesses, Daniel was able to convince and get 97 testimonies to the city council on third reading, which made them put the budget back to proceed with the bike lane. I received a letter from Carol Fukunaga at the city council saying the budget was restored due to the many testimonies and oral comments to Bill 15. I know this is due to the propaganda put out by Daniel, because in his newsletter he directed testimonies to Bill 15. He did not know the amendment was in Bill 16. So the only obstacle left was to get rid of the parking alternative that was left in the Bill 16. And this is where Daniel Alexander, who is the Planning and Communications Director, and Chad Taniguchi, the Executive Director of Hawaii Bicycle League, decided to do what they called community outreach. They decided to canvass our shops by trying to get concessions out of us as a parking alternative. Unknown to me at the time, they were kicked out of 3 shops before they decided to come into my shop. They tried a different strategy on me, however. They came in separately, and Daniel asked to speak to me, and Chad came in later to order breakfast and sat at the other end of the cafe. My partner was eager to explain the safety issue he had with the street, but Daniel was more interested in talking to me. He went off right away saying, if we made the meters 1 hour instead of 2, that would discourage the Kaiser patients from parking there. Would that be agreeable with you? I said it might help a little. He then went on to say, if we put meters on Young Street, if we change the tollway hours to start at 7 instead of 8:30, and so on. I stopped him and said, are you trying to get me to agree to these things to justify taking our parking away? And he said yes. I told him, what you are saying is minuscule compared to the devastating effect of taking parking away. By now, my partner was getting upset and told Daniel he was listening for the past half hour, and all you're trying to do is manipulate Jerry. You're not interested in the concerns we have for the safety of the bicyclists at all. He was visibly angry. At that point, I told Daniel, you need to leave. But Daniel insisted on talking some more, and my partner was ready to physically throw him out. I stepped between them and told Daniel, that's it, get out. I did notice Chad had walked out earlier and was heading to the shop next door, so I went to the alteration shop because I knew the owner couldn't speak English well. Tina, the owner, was feeding her 4-year-old lunch, and her helper was on the other sewing machine. I told Tina that she should be careful of what she says to this man because they want to get concessions out of us to take our parking away. That is when Chad stood an inch away from my face and started yelling that I had no authority to be there. I was shocked, and I could see Tina and her helper and her son's reaction was of pure fright. Chad continued shouting, and I could feel the spit on my face. I calmly turned to ask Tina if I had her permission to ask this guy to leave, which they agreed with no hesitation. I told Chad, that's it, get out. Chad said, I have no authority to be there. I said, did you not hear what she just said? Get out. Chad continued to yell and shoved a t-shirt into my face saying, do you know who this is? Do you know who this is? It was a picture of a young man, and I said, I don't give a shit who that is. Then Chad started yelling again, you don't give a shit, you don't give a shit. This guy died on a bike. It's then I said, that's it, I'm calling the police. Chad said, go ahead, you'll see, they're going to agree with me. If you listen closely, you can hear the police officer on the left say he did talk to the ladies and they did give me permission to ask you to leave. I asked Tina's son a couple of days later if he remembered that day. His comment was, he's a bad man. This is the kind of trauma this 4-year-old remembers. It made me sick to my stomach to hear this from a 4-year-old. I sent this video to Carol Fukunaga at the city council, and she said this behavior was unacceptable. I sent this video to Allison Blair of Hawaii News Now, and she said it was unbelievable. I've sent this video to every sponsor of Complete Streets and got no answer from any of them. I did get a response from the city saying Hawaii Bicycle League was not asked by the city to do any public outreach on their behalf of the city. The city did decide to keep the parking, but take away a lane of traffic on a very busy street. Honestly, I don't really like the idea because now a lot of motorists will be upset. But I can't complain because they didn't take away our parking. But this is the damage the Hawaii Bicycle League created. I spent a year having panic attacks because of all the delays due to the Hawaii Bicycle League. Because of their interference, one business has already closed. The owner's father had taken ill in the mainland, and he said he couldn't risk keeping the shop without knowing what would happen with this bike lane. We ourselves had to delay our planning to expand our business for a year because we were not sure what would happen. I'm sure other businesses were also affected, but this is the damage Hawaii Bicycle League did. How can the Hawaii Bicycle League do things like this with no consequences whatsoever? Actually, this has crossed the line. This is why I'm asking the public to please write to the city, write to Complete Streets program, write to the city, your city council representative, write to the sponsors of Complete Streets, and yes, write to the Hawaii Bicycle League. The Complete Streets program is planning to put many more bike lanes around the island. This is just the beginning, and it's starting to be a very bad one. It's only a matter of time when a bike lane will be put near you. Is this the way you want to be treated? You can feel free to say you got this information from the YouTube from me. I have no problem with that. Thank you for hearing me out.